Recreating the marine ecosystem is one of the most complex projects for an aquarist. Because the creatures living in this ecosystem are so fragile, it takes a lot more work, more gadgets, and more know-how if you want to maintain a healthy, beautiful reef aquarium. Hi, I'm Michelle from Quebec CICHLIDS, your local fish store in Terrebonne, Quebec, right outside of Montreal. Today, I will be showing you the marine fish system that I have in my store. Let's go check it out. Ben and I created this system 5 years ago. It's the first one that we built together. After visiting a lot of reef stores and doing a lot of research online, we finally built our system, and it is solid. Over the last 5 years, this has served us well. The one you see behind me is dedicated to the fish and inverts, and I have another one which is dedicated to the corals. Since I'm expecting a big coral shipment, I will wait until I have those corals in the tank before showing them to you. It's better to brag about a system if it's completely filled, right? Even though if I was to redo it, I would not redo it this way. I'd make a couple of changes. For example, the aquariums are all on the vertical. I prefer them on the horizontal now. Also, the aquariums on the top level are a little bit too high and nobody ever seasoned them, so I can't put many fish in there unless I know I have a lot and they're coming to see the people. Other than that, this system is pretty flawless. Since this system is fish only, I did not invest a great deal on the lights like I did in my coral system. If you've seen in my previous videos, I have the Radions, I have the Ecotech pumps, but in this one, the fish, they don't need that much lighting. So just enough so that my clients could actually see them. In saltwater, there are many different mentalities. Some people tell you to do it one way, some people tell you to do it the other. The way that I usually prone is with the sump and the no canister filter technique. This system sump is gigantic. It is over 100 gallons, it's huge, it's way too big. But in the time, that's the aquarium that we had available, so that's the one that we took. If we take a look in the sump, it's pretty straightforward. The water falls in these socks that we rinse regularly. It then passes through my hundreds of pounds of live rock, on which there is enough bacteria that maintains the whole ecosystem. And then it goes into my makeshift other compartment through the bottom where there are holes and is pumped right back up into the aquarium. In the makeshift container, I also have my skimmer. I put a valve right here so that I could make my water changes faster by just opening the valve, and it just empties it out right away. I pierced every aquarium on the bottom. There's an overflow on the back of the aquarium where the water falls and enters our plumbing system that we built, and then into the socks and all over again. To maintain the salinity, I have a float switch that is installed on my huge basins of RODI water. So every time there is evaporation, the water goes back in, maintaining the 1.025 that I usually keep. If you want a solid, healthy reef aquarium on the long term, you're gonna need RODI water. And as for me, well, I need a lot of it because I also sell some to my clients who don't necessarily have the machine, they're coming with their jugs. So I have 2 50-gallon barrels just filled with it. To create my salt water that I use for my water changes, I just use gravity and fill up this tank under the RODI jugs. I do my mix in there and I'm ready to go. Since it's right next to my saltwater section, I don't have to carry it or anything. I just usually let gravity flow and it works like that. When Ben and I arrived in the company in 2012, it was only dedicated to African cichlids. We brought the reef aquarium with us because we had already had some and we just loved it. We thought it would be a great addition to the company. Even though for this past year I've been doing the Fish Store Extreme Makeover, it has been going on for years actually. And how it was before was a lot more cluttered, and we had a rack in the middle of the place with these 2 huge aquariums filled with rocks. Eventually we got 3 and then we attached. I say this was our first one, but this was our first, let's say, nice one. Because before they were kind of weird. I had a 180-gallon with 2 20-gallons strapped right next to it. I mean, it worked. Honestly, I never had overflows or anything. That system worked fine. It wasn't the nicest thing, and it was a little hard to maintain because we had this 180-gallon in which we kept all of our corals, but it's a 180-gallon tank, it's huge. So we had all these rocks, and on it we had put some egg crate and the corals on top. And when we would get big fish, we'd have to put them in there. And just to fish them out, I honestly don't know what we were thinking. It was the worst. So we had to get rid of that and just start anew. The 2 aquariums next to them, we found they were just too big. It was too many big aquariums. In saltwater, you have to have small aquariums if you're building a system. So we just transferred them to freshwater and eventually just transferred them to nothing at all and brought that rack down because it took up way too much room. I think that was the start of the real fish store extreme makeover, when I figured, okay, so I am allowed to bring these walls down. Well, they're gonna come down. So that was my saltwater fish section. I hope you liked it. There are gonna be a lot more saltwater videos coming up. I've been wondering how to introduce the subject, and I think this is a good way of showing you a couple of my sections, and then I will make some informative videos also in the future on the saltwater hobby, just as I've been doing for freshwater for all these months. Of course, I'm gonna mix them up. You're not just gonna see saltwater, you're gonna see freshwater, you're gonna see everything, because what I love is aquariums. I love fish keeping, and everything that revolves around it. So, don't forget to click that sub button if you want to see more. And I think you want to see more. If you're at this point in the video, you should definitely click that sub button. A big part of the hobby that I also love is taking pictures of my fish, of my inverts, everything. I love taking pictures of these, just as much as I love taking videos. Go check out my Facebook, my Instagram. I post all my pictures on there. You can also check out my website where I have my whole fish list for saltwater, freshwater, for everything. Everything is on there and you can shop online. I ship throughout Canada. So without further ado, here are the fish living in my saltwater system. You didn't seriously think that I'd show you just the aquariums and not any fish? Come on!